Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's edition of Fake Accents Unite. I'm joined this week by series regulars by this point, Uzalu and Discordia. Good evening.
Hey.
Hello there.
And this week, as special guests, I'm also joined by Mauler.
Hello.
And by Rags.
Do I have to say it in a fake accent?
You're already using a fake accent. Any American accent is a fake accent.
All right. Hello.
Oh, God. See, that's real.
That's yeah. You can just tell.
That's a real accent you've had on this show.
Limey.
It just reminds me.
Well.
Just reminds me of was it like Little Karibo, like trying to put on different voices? That's what he sounds like. No one else gets that reference. That's fine.
I'll smack you in the gob.
Where are me, mum?
Lovely.
Oi.
That fake accent.
Yeah. Thanks for that. You can go back to being your usual fake accent. That's quite all right.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's all good.
Take the message, Rags. Jesus.
What? There we go. Right. Hello to chat. Just waiting for people to come through. Show comment man says, "Real British people on this show? Who'd have thought?" I mean, I think every guest I've had on this show for the past 3 months has been British. I don't think I've had a single American on. So you've taken the American guest virginity right now, Rags.
I'm a single American.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Let me see. Who's more obnoxious to the English, the Scots or the Americans? Disco, you can answer this one.
I don't know if we're obnoxious to the English.
I don't know. We
do butcher the language a bit.
We've got to be the Americans. How could it be anyone else?
We've had more wars with the Scots. So
I do know the Americans love the Scots, though.
The Americans love anyone who isn't American at this point. They also love America. I don't know how much they love Americans, but they love America.
Either way, when you mix them together, you get Trump. And ironically, I prefer him to most Scots or Americans by default.
Is that the big plot twist that Trump is actually Scottish?
Isn't his family Scottish?
I have absolutely no idea.
He has golf courses in Scotland.
He's got golf courses everywhere.
That's good enough.
It's close.
Yeah.
The topic for this evening is genre-defining video games, but obviously this conversation can go anywhere and everywhere, as it usually does. So I want to start off by asking each of you, like, what's your favorite genre of video games? Do you play many at the moment, or do you just so Mauler, you make a living at the moment critiquing video games, but do you actually?
I've done more films lately than video games at this point, but
I see.
I do still play them every once in a while.
Yeah, you got a particular favorite genre?
I was going to say this is going to suck because I really don't. I like loads of different genres. The recent game I played was Monster Hunter, which is, I guess, what genre is Monster Hunter exactly?
I guess like online action RPG. I guess
sort of, yeah. Then before that was God of War. Before that it was the Shadow of the Colossus remaster. I when I'm writing scripts or editing, I'm playing clicker games in the background.
Oh god!
Some of my favorite games would be like Metroid Prime or In the Blind Forest. So you could go with Metroidvania, I suppose, is one of my favorite genres. But there's a whole bunch.
But nothing compares to Clicker Heroes. Am I right? It's just like
that's where the true satisfactory gameplay is.
I think I played Clicker Heroes.
You just play Fortnite 24/7, don't you?
I can't play Fortnite. I'm writing scripts. It's impossible.
There's no
clicker games work.
There's no story to. There's more of a story to clicker games than there is to Fortnite, and therefore Mauler isn't really that interested.
That is true.
I did have a friend of mine who was like, "Oh, you know how you should grow your YouTube channel? You should just play Fortnite, man. Like, it'd be really good." I was like, "You think I can stream games?"
Is it too late to grow a channel through Fortnite now because it would be so saturated?
Oh, I imagine so. Like, although I suppose if you have even an inkling of technical know-how, you probably have an advantage over whatever 10-year-old has picked up the game and decided to stream it this week. But there we go. Rags, do you have a particular favorite genre, or are you just all round the board?
I'm kind of all around the board, but I guess my favorites would be I like shooters,
and I like RPGs.
Any particular favorite RPGs?
The Witcher 3 is one. Baton Kaitos, back in the GameCube days. That's one of my favorites. Divinity Original Sin 2 and the one before it. Those are both great. I really like those.
So good to know. Uzalu, I know you don't really play anymore, but do you have any particular favorite games?
Well, I do play. I just find it hard to find things I enjoy. I usually prefer first-person shooters, and I still have a great empty void left by the adventure platforms of the past that has very rarely had anything to fill it. Hat in Time was the most recent thing that did, but I'm still avidly awaiting the new Spyro, the remaster rather.
Yeah, living in nostalgia land with a new shiny coat of paint.
But I also do a bit of every genre. I've been setting up a Skyrim mod setup recently. Last time I had over 200 mods and had it very, very well customized for a particular game style. It's mostly gameplay mechanics mods. There's very few graphic stuff, so it's all meat and very few veg in there in terms of the actual gameplay.
Fair play, fair play. Joe Neverton says, farming simulators reign supreme. Don't at me. Strong. Chancellor of Memes, Mauler oscillates between a Canadian accent and a Midlands accent. Very fake, if you ask me.
Everybody in the places I've worked, retail, always ask where in America I'm from. And I'm like, no. I don't know how it works. My accent is gone, though, from being Welsh, and it is like a weird combination of Welsh, English, and American, apparently.
It's amazing how many people I end up streaming with who have like a Welsh heritage or background, but no one ever pins them on being Welsh. None of them.
Some of my fans have actually been able to spot it, and I've always been surprised when they do. There's some words left in how I speak, apparently, that tell that I'm Welsh. I have no idea what they are.
What's obliterated your accent, do you reckon?
Voice acting, probably.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, anything we'd know?
I did loads of small jobs to be an American character, and then I've always liked doing impressions as well, so I just eventually, and I like to articulate the words that I use as well, so Welsh accents start to really blend all the stuff that you say, all the words go together, and you just can't even fucking understand what they're saying. So when you tidy it all up, you start to actually lose the Welsh accent, so that would explain it, I hope.
And Disco, you've had a lot of. You're obviously now developing or looking to develop games. Like, do you have any particular favorites?
Oh, I've played many games over the years. Although I think the ones I've probably got the most disgusting amount of hours in are World of Warcraft and recently Ark Survival Evolved.
So big online.
About 4,000 hours on that at the moment.
Good grief! I think that. To my great shame, I spent most of my youth playing RuneScape, and even then, I only managed to accumulate about
most of your youth.
Never told me about that before.
Yeah, you've never.
It's definitely not still pinned on your taskbar or anything.
It's not anymore. I removed it because Uzalu picked it out.
You're waiting the open beta on Android still, are you?
No, you are, because I'm not doing a beta.
Oh, you're not, are you? I see. Show us your apps list. Come on.
No, I don't. It's not happening.
Show us your battery usage history. Come on.
Oh, God. It's not going to happen. So I've got a list of genres here, which we went through just prior to the stream to talk about. But have we played many platformers? Is that the case?
I was playing one today, actually, that is worth bringing up. As I mentioned, Spyro. It's not actually Spyro. It's a fan game called Spyro, what is it called? Myths Awakened or something.
Right.
Looking quite good, actually. They've got a lot of the mechanics in. They've started getting levels. They're doing all their own music and level design and NPC design, stuff like that. There's a tech demo. There's 3 tech demos, actually. I played one of them today. It's looking quite nice.
You wonder if it'll get hit like basically every Pokemon fan game and just get hit with a copyright strike the second they try and release anything, though?
Yeah, I'm not sure. The thing is, they're not making any money. They're not even taking donations. So there's probably a lower risk of that.
I think Nintendo's pretty bad for that as well.
Yeah.
I think Activision currently owns the Spyro rights. I might be wrong on that. So it's not in the hands of Insomniac, unfortunately, who are Well, in my experience, they're a very reasonable company.
Yeah, fair enough. The I don't know though, because like a lot of the Nintendo ones are basically not like they're not for profit. Like I remember a couple of friends who downloaded a couple of ones, and they basically have a few of the only copies left of them, just because Nintendo is so aggressive when it comes to.
Nintendo doesn't really like their stuff being like in videos either, does it? Just their image at all. They're like, nope.
I know there were a number of cases against people who did negative reviews of their games.
Didn't Total Biscuit refuse to cover them because of he just boycotted them entirely because of the way they took down videos, I think.
I think he did a similar thing with Sega and or Konami. Maybe Konami was Jim Sterling, actually. They've all had issues with some sort of Japanese developer or publisher.
I guess it's quite an aggressive market in Japan. It's a weird one as well, because the like particularly the online side of things is a really weird, and like Japan and South Korea, they cycle through games a lot faster than the Western market, I think, particularly online. So whereas like the Western market, and so take something like World of Warcraft, which is still going today, the Asian market just tends to, the East Asian market just tends to pump one out every 12 months and then pump it full of microtransactions, particularly China as well. But they have a less, like, you know how microtransactions are kind of frowned upon in the Western society if they give an unfair advantage to the player. They're much more... They're
much more accepted in the East.
Yeah, in the East. Like, and particularly, like, I know South Korea, it's considered to be like, oh, what did you spend your disposable income on this month? Oh, well, I bought this this cool accessory in this game, is much more common. And then they cycle through, and then a game becomes completely broken for about 2 or 3 months, and then they shut down the servers when everyone leaves. And there's just like this hardcore fan base who have everything unlocked, who've pumped like too much money into the game to be able to quit it. And then they'll shut it down or recycle it or whatever. Zersit sort of says, I think that's somewhat limited to Korea. Maybe, like, I think it's Korea and South Korea and Japan, but more so than China. But I know China's producing a lot of these sorts of things. Doesn't Japan have strange fair use laws that would mess up YouTube for them? I don't know.
I don't know either, but I know that Nintendo's got that weird partnership thing that they do on YouTube where you have to sign up to become like a registered Nintendo content reviewer thingy, and then they take even more money out of your ad revenue or whatever it is. But you basically get to use their stuff. It's kind of it's fucked up. People do it because a lot of people give Nintendo a pass. You know, a lot of people have a blind spot for Nintendo, and it's okay when Nintendo does it, or we're not going to worry when Nintendo does it. So,
I guess you have to say good things as well to get that pass.
That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Nintendo is a weird one because, of course, they're so heavily first party, because obviously they've produced all of their own games pretty much until the Switch. Because they're obviously letting developers like Bethesda put Skyrim on Switch and stuff like that. Says
toaster.
Sorry?
Play Skyrim on your toaster. Out now.
There will be... I mean, you can't fault them for doing it in a way, because the...
supply and demand.
Yeah, supply and demand. Everyone loved Skyrim.
I fear the man who has released 1,000 games once. I fear the man who has released one game 1,000 times.
Yeah, Todd Howard looks up with laser eyes. The I don't know. Sora Sapien has donated £10 and says, I lost my accent when my voice broke. I went from a broad Yorkshire to RP Queen's English in a space of 2 months without explanation. Curiously, when I get the flu or a cold, I temporarily acquire a broad Highlands accent. I mean,
my accent comes flooding back when I'm either really angry with someone or I've had more than a few drinks.
I was going to say,
no one can understand me anymore.
really, really drunk
Now, of course, I would never be able to know whether that's true or not because I've never been around you while you're angry or drunk. This hasn't just never happened.
Obviously not.
Obviously not.
Lovely. Yeah. So back to platformers. Like the one that I'd say started them all in terms of doing the thing right has got to be like the original Mario games, Super Mario. I think that's probably a good place to start. But I enjoyed, in terms of genre defining, recently Fez, you know, the indie game.
Yeah, I heard that was really good.
That was really phenomenal.
I was going to say, obviously, it immediately makes me think of Phil Fish. It's like,
yeah.
The developer less good than the game.
He was. I mean, he was under an extraordinary amount of pressure by the end of it. He obviously had a falling out with his. Sorry,
what? I would.
I didn't say it wasn't deserved, but the
continue. Do please continue slobbing.
And then he claimed that he was going to create Fez 2, and then he got like 2 weeks into development of that and then quit it. But I thought it was good just because it was a really inventive concept, but also the like the sheer number of hidden Easter eggs that he just never expected anyone to find, that involved things like having to translate Morse code into another language and then back to English in order to work out how you were going to get the cubes.
ARGs, right?
Sorry?
ARGs, is that what they're called?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I think so.
But
I preferred Braid.
But it was a good game. Like, have you? I also played Unepic. Have you heard of Unepic?
I haven't.
No, I haven't.
So this is a really weird, like, it's a like a Castlevania style platformer in 2D about a gamer who gets sucked into fantasy world, and then you have to go through the whole thing. And I still haven't beaten the final boss fight in it because you have to swap between two characters, but it's just chock full of little gaming and pop movie and culture references, which is including things like, for some reason, you just come across Admiral Akbar in Princess Leia's dress at one point. It's just full of stuff, and in front of him is like a pressure pad that's really obvious. So he says, "What's that?" It's like, "It's a trap. Thank you so much." And just carry on. And it's just chock full of stuff like that. I really enjoyed that one.
The Akbar trope in the Clone Wars series, and the Akbar was in quite a few episodes, and they refused to have him say it's a trap, even when it was. I think at one point he might have said it's an ambush.
It's an ambush. That's amazing. You just have to think. Is this the like the Disney Clone Wars or the old one?
Not the old one, the more recent one.
Because there's something to do with like how much. I know in one of them they were part of it was like an extended universe contract, so they weren't necessarily allowed to directly say those sorts of things. I can't remember.
The more recent one is actually considered canon, which is ironic because without spoiling things, quite a few characters that you would think are dead or not in the show anymore from the movies return or appear for the first time, having just been mentioned in the movies.
Oh, I know they brought back like Darth Maul and stuff like that, didn't they?
The main one I was thinking, yeah, but also Qui-Gon appears.
What?
Yeah.
He's dead!
But, I mean, you can't get much deader than...
Nobody ever
much
dies
for not
in Star Wars
spoiling
anymore.
Burned him, right?
This is
much better than Darth Maul, and yet he comes back.
This is getting worse than... This is getting worse than bloody Marvel, where you can't kill anyone.
Qui-Gon,
But they burned his body, right? Didn't he get
back alive? He doesn't come
Jedi
back
can't
alive.
be burned.
Sorry?
If you strike him down, he'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
If you
Clearly.
burn him down, he'll become even more powerful. I'm pretty sure that's in the lore.
Has anyone played like one of the newer like 3D Marios, like Odyssey and stuff like that?
I don't have the right hardware. I mean, toys.
I kind of considered buying a Switch, but I was like, do I really want it just for one game?
Yeah, that's the problem with Nintendo consoles. Like, the technology's there, but they just don't have the variety of games on them. You buy them for a single game, and you're like, well, now what do I do with this thing?
They're getting a little bit better, but even like there's Odyssey, there's Breath of the Wild, but that even
a lot of people talk about the PS4 as a Bloodborne machine, but I think at this point PS4's got plenty to buy it for compared to the Switch.
Naughty Dog has outfitted the PS4 with everything it ever needs, to be honest.
They even remastered Last of Us. Like, there you go.
Oh god,
third-person action games with stealth elements. Yeah, boy.
I mean, to be fair, like you only ever need Bloodborne. It's the only game you ever need.
I think you mean Knack 2.
Knack. Oh, that was a joke of a game, wasn't it? Dear God.
But yeah, you can emulate Wii with Dolphin. You have been able to for a while. I don't know about Wii U or Switch, but give it long enough, you could be able to play any of those quote unquote really good Mario games on a non-toy console or machine.
Obviously, Mauler's favorite 3D platformer is Yooka-Laylee.
I just think it was given a harder time than it deserved. That game was shafted by a huge portion of the community who were after it, and I think a lot of it had to do with the dropping of JonTron, and then the delays, and then obviously it's not a perfect game by any measure, but like it was looked at as like a complete mess. It was compared to Mighty Number 9. I was like, what?
Strong.
Not even remotely the same.
But let's shall we at least agree that Hat in Time was better?
It's still on my list.
I've got it.
I'm waiting for it to come onto my onto offer, basically. So
yeah, I have heard that Hat in Time is very good.
I watched Uzalu play through it, and yeah, it looked all right.
There's a co-op mode with a free DLC coming soon, and you can also hack your way into co-op. So I'm probably going to force Disco to play that with me at some point soon.
I'm just gonna fall off all the platformers. Like jumping puzzles is not my thing in games. Gonna spend most of the time like I'll be back up in a second.
So moving on to shooters, which obviously Rags is.
I've played shooters.
I
know what those are.
I know what a shooter
when
is.
I saw shooters.
First-person shooter or third-person shooter? That's the first question.
Well, first
person. I think
surely it depends.
The nuance of the situation is
personally, I prefer third person.
But I think we can all pretty much agree that obviously Doom set the first-person machine in motion. But when it comes to the culmination of shooters, I think in terms of not competitive shooters, but most fun I've ever had on a shooter, I have to say it was. I'm going to be like a complete casual right now and just be like Modern Warfare 2.
That mainstream choice.
What a terrible game.
I sunk so many hours into that game. As broken.
That was like the peak of 360, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically. People love that garbage.
As completely broken as that game was, it was so every class was so overpowered that it basically balanced out in the end. I think there were very few, to the point where you would take the least broken aspects of the game and try and make them viable, and things like the javelin. I just loved that game. It was great.
I put a lot of time into Black Ops before I realized what field of view was.
Right? Yeah.
And then I never played it again, because once you've experienced 100 field of view or more, and you actually don't vomit immediately, which I don't, I prefer it that way, then you can hardly go back to something that doesn't have at least 90.
Yeah, 90 is like the minimum. The bare minimum is like 90.
Yeah.
So I think you could probably, I think you can probably put the new Doom. Like, how do you think the new Doom holds up in that regard? Because not Eternal,
2016 Doom,
the 2016 Doom, because it's sitting in my library and I can't run it yet.
Oh, holds up to what? What do you mean?
Like just to the genre as a whole? Because a lot of people,
it's very, very good.
I get either people gushing over it or people basically saying it'll never hold up to the original, or to the genre as a whole.
I mean, I think I don't know how people. I would be interested to hear people who say that the Doom 2016 couldn't hold up to the original.
I've seen it played, and it looks like it's
because the original is ancient, and you have to play it with that. It's like Quake. You have to go in understanding it's an old ass game, and you can enjoy it if you accept the problems with it.
I guess
clunky. I suppose you could say. I don't know. It's pretty graphically. It's super fucking degraded, obviously, but you can actually get mods for both Quake and Doom. So
yeah, you can.
It depends because like what is it, Final Doom or something like that, which is like the heavily modified version where they just like people have they've still got a really active modding community, and I guess they're more keen on that than on the new one. But I think I saw something recently where someone implemented like a wave survival mode, and another hilarious one where they'd done they implemented a lawnmower into it, so you could have a ride-on lawnmower that you could ride through the game.
So like what's the zombie game in the shopping mall?
Oh, Dead Rising.
Yeah.
that series is dying, isn't it? Is it dying? Fourth one.
I haven't heard much about Dead Rising other than the newer ones aren't great.
Zombie games suck, to be honest. Left 4 Dead was the only good one. The rest of them have just been following that success.
Resident Evil 4 was awesome.
Technically, they weren't zombies.
They would have the infected. I don't know.
Pointing to Crisis 1, which I think was great, but I think Crisis 3 is probably my favorite FPS.
I don't think I ever played Crisis 1 actually. Like, I know there was the whole meme about Crisis, but other than that, I'm really not that familiar with it.
The thing with Crisis is, I know that in some way I can't describe Crisis 1 has something that Crisis 2 and 3 are missing, but Crisis 2 and 3 are technically better, and I can't help but say that they're my preferred games. But I think Crisis 1 it has something that others don't. I don't know what it is, because they all have freedom. They all have linear gameplay. With that freedom, even though Crisis 1 feels more open world, it is still linear in the things that you can do, and there's only one path. It's just a very wide path. Crisis 3 sometimes has narrow paths, but so does Crisis 1 at certain points. They have the same physics, they have similar AI, similar range of weapons, but Crisis 2 and 3 improve on it, and a lot of people would disagree with me on that. So I want to hear why people think Crisis 1's better than the other two, if they do.
I would say, and we also have this shooter RPG mix. More recent examples would include like Prey or BioShock. As examples where they're first-person shooters, but they're not. They follow a more RPG or stealth, resource management kind of. I wonder if there's like a genre for that, because if there isn't a name for it, I wish there was. You just sort of compare it to other games similar to it.
You also got Borderlands and Mass Effect 2 as well. You could just call them RPG first-person shooters. It's just a mix of the two.
You've got Division as well, which I guess is more of a third-person shooter.
Just an action RPG, I guess. Like, I know chat saying that CS:GO and Titanfall need to be discussed. I never played
CS:GO, but the Counter-Strike games are extremely formulaic, and they're just for people that like that kind of gameplay, where it's the same thing every time, but you just get slightly better at actually pointing and shooting at things. It's very simplistic. I never really enjoyed it, but I do admire the people that get very good at it.
Isn't that the kind of point of like roguelikes as well in general? Like, I know that's a whole subgenre.
Well, that's a bit different, but it has, I guess there's a similarity there, yeah.
There's a base skill, and the more you improve at this, like this core skill that the game's about, the further you'll progress. It's not necessarily about learning a wide variety of mechanics.
I guess the problem with it is like when you want something that's easy to use, but difficult to master. And I know a lot of people struggle with things like Rocket League for that, because it's more like a difficulty cliff. I mean, rather than a difficulty curve, and because you get games which don't age well in terms of the user base, because if a new player comes into like competitive things like, I mean, even something like CS:GO or whatever, and let's say they've come from console, or they're trying to use a controller for some godforsaken reason, and they're just not used to the higher skill cap, then it's not going to go well.
Is anyone actually good at Rocket League? Like anyone at all? It seems to me like it's too unwieldy for you to become very good at it, like to have a lot of control.
Yeah, there's like I mean, it's got a whole esports league associated with it and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
Never
are they actually
beaten.
good at it?
Yes, they are. They're
I was
very,
gonna say,
very good.
There's a big difference between the best and the worst of Rocket League players.
I follow one guy, and he's I'm really sad, and I watched RLCS, which is their championship series, and they have an insane thing. Like, you just have to turn the commentary off because all the commentators, they've started getting better, but they used to just be like MLG commentators where they had no idea what was going on.
Whoa, he did a flip.
He did a flip. Oh yeah,
Whoa,
yeah.
He scored a
Well, they
point.
keep saying their names.
I also just can't. Yeah, I can't get over the fact that a commentator has to seriously go, "What an amazing play by Squishy Muffins!" Like, it just doesn't. To me, you just can't take that seriously.
It's short and it's Squishy Muff.
Why are you hating on Squishy Muffins? What do you do?
I'm not hating on Squishy Muffins. It's just his
Fucking took
ridiculous,
steroids.
just his ridiculous name.
He's been doping. Squishy Muffins.
Doping.
Doping. So not so Squishy Muffins. That's what it is.
Hard
Rocket
muffins.
League, the Rocket League doping scandal.
Chat says CSGO is completely about learning team play whilst also your own skill, and Rocket League's the same. I think I have 2,000 hours on both. I think I need help.
One thing I don't really. I'm not a CS:GO fan myself. I don't like the way there seems to be a huge emphasis in Counter-Strike on memorizing the spots on the maps where people will be and like peek in the certain corners and knowing, oh, there's a crate here, so there's probably a guy at this point. And
Formulaic, as I said.
Yes, very, very much. And I don't really like that. I like this almost chaotic moment by moment. This spontaneous strategy, I guess, where if something happens, you have to adapt to it.
I guess that's why I'm not really. I tried playing the new battle royale stuff, and to be fair, it's slightly less formulaic in something like Fortnite because of the build mechanics. But even so, so much of it is just memorization of that sort of thing.
See, I found
Go on.
I found Rainbow Six Siege to be very much the same. Like, you know, my friends would play all the time, and they would know where people were likely to be on the maps because they'd learned the maps, and you know, I hadn't learned the maps. And I'd go in there, and I'd just be walking into people, and they were like, "Oh, but that's where somebody always stands."
Yeah, don't you know that's corner 2A-1 where there's 60% chance an enemy will be corner
They have their own language.
The waste bin.
They have their own language in the game.
This massive disadvantage because you don't know the maps. It doesn't matter how good you get at the game if you don't learn the map layout and where people are likely to be. You have this disadvantage.
I think the it depends, particularly on something that's heavily team focused, like Rainbow Six, where you just go, if you are learning the game, and the community is really toxic and just basically completely unforgiving of any issues whatsoever with your gameplay, then that's going to put me off straight away.
That's one of the reasons I stopped playing Counter-Strike. There was a huge window where I'd never played the game ever, and I don't think I really have other than to double check something for like a video I did. But I was playing with people on my Steam friends list who said, "Hey, you want to play Counter-Strike?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I never played. I hadn't played it in ages. Sure, I'll try it again. And within like 3 games, they were yelling at me because I wasn't buying the right items and I didn't know how like armor and shit worked and money worked in the game yet.
That was like League of
And
Legends.
I was like,
back when I used to play that.
I'm just gonna leave then. Fuck y'all. I was like, I don't care enough about this shit.
Tell me what to take. You tell me what corner to stand in, and I'll just shoot anyone that comes near me.
And I've been recently really getting back into Doom's multiplayer a lot, and I'm really, really digging it because it's kind of the opposite. You know, you don't hide or peek from people. You go out and you really fight them, and it's a very in your face sort of competition. Everything is very much. You fight them and they fight you, and it's fairly straightforward. And you can get inventive to a degree, but it's really about, how do I maximize my damage with these weapons? And it's got Halo. It's like a really sped up Halo with a lot of pickups to it, and it's so different. And there's not a lot of games these days that really do that, and so it's very refreshing to play a good game where it just has a different kind of skill to it.
You really can't camp in the new Doom, like in that regard, I guess.
Yeah,
like
you can't. You can't really. The time to kill can be particularly high depending on what your armor is, for instance. But being able to, you can't really camp a spot as you can maybe try to control an area. And when you can kill enemies, Doom differs from a lot of first-person shooters nowadays, where the person who sees the other first will probably win. And Doom isn't like that, where there's a huge chance for you to retaliate or to get away or to use your level of skill to potentially put out way more damage than they can put into you, depending on your weapons. And a lot of people have to adjust to that. And I remember a lot of people that I talked to, when they started playing Doom when it came out in the multiplayer, they said they didn't care for it or it wasn't that great. And I was in the same of the same opinion. It was okay, but now I really, really like it. And I don't know if it's just that I've accepted the kind of game that it is, or I've gotten used to its style, or there's been some serious adjustments to it over time. But I do wish more games were kind of like that. This very old school style, I guess, the arena shooter.
Yeah, there's a really good arena shooter that's totally free and doesn't even require installing, called Xenotic, which seems to be the sort of modern replacement for the old arena shooters. And as I say, it's really easy to get onto. It's just a gig download. So if anyone fancies playing an arena shooter, multiplayer, I think you can just host a server without any hassle as well.
It's
just,
called
pick
what?
that one up. Xenotic.
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 There you go. That's the second thing I've shilled today.
Are you being sponsored? Is that it usually? Like you?
God, that'd be nice. I would take a sponsorship from that Spiral Project and Xenotic. They're both. I mean, neither of them are getting a profit, so there's no risk to me, I guess.
Yeah. People in chat are saying Unreal Tournament. I've never played it, to be perfectly honest.
I played Unreal Tournament 3 years ago, and it was all right. I prefer Doom.
Yeah, it was all right.
When it comes to multiplayer and shooters, the game I probably sunk the most time into is Mass Effect 3, which is the Horde mode. Basically, on the end of that one, I sunk way too many hours into that.
Can we ban this filthy EA shill from his own stream?
Hey, now, this is back when BioWare was good, right?
What, doing Mass Effect 3?
The Mass Effect trilogy overall is pretty good. It's pretty good.
That ending, though.
That ending left a lot to be desired.
The series is, as a whole, though, is phenomenal.
Yeah,
as a whole.
I haven't actually played.
I really didn't mind the ending of the third. I thought it was poorly thought out, and they could have done a better job. But at the same time, I was like, well, it ended.
I bet you're glad that they redeemed themselves with Mass Effect Andromeda, though. Just fix it.
Oh, yeah. They changed our minds. Everyone's minds were changed.
The best part of Andromeda has to be the realistic facial animations.
Yes.
I mean, more than anything else, you can look into those eyes and know that you're looking into a living character.
It's a shame that now a lot of people don't instantly think of Dragon Age Origins as being one of their best games, if not the best game they did.
Dragon Age Origins. Yeah, I played that for...
Do you know, I played that all the way through, enjoyed it quite a lot, got to the last boss, and just for some reason didn't come back to it. Never finished the last boss.
I mean, I enjoyed...
I love that game.
I did the Dwarven storyline, and I
was playing Dwarf as well.
I loved that one. I enjoyed it. I still have it downloaded on PS3. It's one of those games which I haven't finished, but whenever I go back and visit my parents or whatever, I boot up the PS3 and play an hour in the evening when everyone else has gone to bed, because it's just one of those things which it's enjoyable time sink. People now moaning at EA. Thanks for that, Uzalu.
No worries.
That's all right. The people saying EA murdered Dead Space 3 and they killed Visceral Games. Yeah, I'm still salty over that.
Well, did it die or was it murdered?
It was definitely murdered. I was
genuinely shocked when I played Dead Space 3. I was like, what the hell did you do to this game?
Dead Space 3 was the first game that I had pre-ordered in a long time because I didn't believe in pre-orders. But I adored Dead Space and Dead Space 2 so much. I was like, do you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna set aside my principles, and that's the reason why Dead Space 3 was appalling, because I set aside my principles and pre-ordered the game, which was
just jinxed the game. So.
Basically, that's what it was.
The game that killed pre-orders for me was Star Wars.
Which one?
Star Wars.
Which Star Wars game?
The
Old Republic.
The new Battlefront.
The MMO.
The MMO.
Yeah, the Old Republic.
Oh yeah.
I paid full price for that game that they then made free to play and locked all the players that paid for it out of all the features.
I loved all the cinematics that led up to the Old Republic, but then I played it when it became free.
It was a beautiful game.
And then I was just like, this is the game that was hyped? No, I think not. Particularly when you've got it's trying to stand on the shoulders of Knights of the Old Republic. I mean, really.
No, it's a beautiful game, but I'm still salty that they locked me out of all the features I paid for.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think I could bear to play a game with lightsabers where the lightsabers don't just cut through things, where they're basically just swords that do damage and take off the enemy's health bar. Yeah, that was something TV said about it as well.
They made a big deal, didn't they? Because they were realistic lightsaber content where you would do damage, but you wouldn't actually hit them until at the end you'd do a takedown or whatever, and that's when the lightsaber would connect, and it was more you weren't taking down health as much as fatigue.
It is difficult to balance a game around the lightsaber if it can't insta-kill everything like it should.
Yeah. But then you could say that the Star Wars universe is therefore not balanced, and that's probably true, actually. But in a lot of cases, a bounty hunter can take on a Jedi, and so that should be reflected in the game.
I want to see more of that, dude. I saw it in one of the Clone Wars episodes, Cad Bane against, what's her name, Ahsoka, and I was like, this is interesting.
Yeah,
he actually manages to survive.
Cad Bane's the best example. He's almost on par with most of the Jedi. If you haven't watched the whole thing, keep going. There's about 6 series, and I've got about halfway through the 4th, and they're all good.
I'm on season 2, but I've heard a lot of good and bad things about all of it.
It's hilarious. The first 2, I think 2, maybe 2.5 seasons are all completely out of order.
Yeah, I've noticed. It's crazy.
There's a place you can go to view the order, the actual chronological order that you can watch them in, but it sounds like you've already got past that point. And the moment I actually looked it up, I was already past the point where it's back to normal chronological order. So there was no point.
Oh, very strange.
But yeah, it looked like maybe Jedi are so overpowered that's why in the sequel trilogy they've reduced it. Since we left Luke, we could have expected 100 new Jedi, but it's no, we've got just him.
I really don't like the way they went in the sequel trilogy. Especially the fact that, okay, so we don't have the Empire anymore, so what should we do? I know, the Empire again.
Let's completely, in the wake of them destroying the Empire, let's not build something around the fact that the rebels are actually winning and the what they actually have to go through in order to take back these small pockets of rebel outposts. No, nothing changed. Nothing changed at all.
That glorious celebration scene at the end of Return of the Jedi, irrelevant. The Empire just comes back stronger. Instead of having a small moon that's made of metal and it can blow up planets, they just have a planet that can blow up solar systems. Yeah,
it's going to be a solar system next time.
We'll make it the Death Star, but better. I've just had a super chat through from Sora Sapien, who's donated $2. Thank you very much, sir. Just been blocked by Ray Murasami on Twitter because I was trying to get her to recognize a fact. Well, that was your first mistake, mate. You shouldn't have used facts. Not on Ray, Mother of Truth Murasami, who says that not all lies are untruths. I mean, come on now.
That sounds like an autological statement.
Yeah.
That just confused me. I was like, wait, what?
Oh, sorry. This is a long-time nemesis of ours on Twitter. Basically, she's the one who is responsible for this stream being called Fake Accents Unite, basically. She says she's an interesting hard leftist.
Why are you faking your accent? Why can't you use your real accent to get the views and the monies?
Real accent
from YouTube.
We were on Academic Agent stream about something or other, and she basically went to him off camera and said, look, I don't know who Britisher and Not So Obvious are, but they are not real British people.
Oh my goodness.
They are such fake accents. It's unreal. I can't believe that you would ever believe that they're actually British. Why they have to put this on for stream? I'm like, I can't control how I sound like this.
Sorry for being British.
Horrendous. But speaking
Lies. I've heard you off camera.
of course, and you can confirm that I sound exactly as
Yes.
fantastic
Sure.
as I sound here.
Oh, of course. I'll
pay
I
you
need
afterwards.
I need to go for about 10 minutes, and I'll join back afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
A likely story.
I was just thinking, with what you just said, it's kind of interesting. You know, like every once in a while you'll get maybe a movie or even a game where you go, oof, they're trying to do a thingy accent, they're just messing it up, and then it turns out they're actually from there, and it's just a different, for example, if I was supposed to voice a Welshman in something, people could be like, you don't sound Welsh at all, and I'm like, but I am Welsh.
Yeah,
like oh.
Literally from here in this town. Yeah, it's like but it's even worse when you get like some really jarring stuff. Like who was it who played Robin Hood in Prince of Thieves with an American accent?
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner, yeah. And I love that film, but he does have the strongest American accent.
It's a great film, but Kevin, where are you from?
There are times. The best time to tell is when they're inconsistent.
Like, I'm from Sherwood Forest. Like,
definitely,
okay.
Obviously, I've just spent some time in the Middle East, and it's so Americanized out there. You know,
I speak the language of the trees.
Show comment man says, I got a wrench. Whoever gave that to me, thanks for giving me that. I think you made a comment about Dead Space 2, so I gave you that. Yeah. Oh no, you said that we were going back to Star Wars games, and I was going to say, he said that The Force Unleashed is the best Star Wars game to come out in the last couple of years, and I have to agree. I 100% have to agree. Have either of you played it? Any of you played it?
Yeah, on the Wii.
On the
Wait,
Wii.
Force Unleashed.
Yeah, the first one, not the second one.
Yeah, my story is I love the first one, played the second one. I was like, what the fuck did you do again?
Do you know
everything falls apart?
Again, I sat with like 2 or 3 for like the build up for 6 months when they're building up to the release of the second game, and they hype it all up, and they had this amazing set, and obviously the first level is really well built, and so they were going through it all, and I was like, oh great, and there's all these new takedowns, etc. And then you get to the game and you're like, oh no, that's the whole game right there, because it's only like 4 levels.
I was just really disappointed with the plot line compared to the first. The first felt like it had a lot of effort to try and make it sit with the franchise, if you will. But then the second one was like, oh, fuck it, whatever.
We can't. Yeah, the second one was like, we can't influence anything, and we also can't. We just like, there has to be no consequences for this. So we can't weaken Vader at all, and we can't do anything with anything which anyone will remember, and therefore it's an incredibly forgettable game. And there you go. Whereas the first one, I thought was great. I thought it worked really well. It certainly worked much better than what is it? The recent Solo film did in setting up the Resistance. I have heard such appalling things, and I refuse to give them any more of my money. So I haven't watched.
The biggest crime that film does for most people is that they get bored watching it. It's just like, okay.
They also Han Solo does nothing which isn't heroic. That was another thing. It's like nothing sets him up to be like the jaded character he is in Episode 4.
Well, what's very odd, I mean, I'm assuming you don't really care for spoilers or anything, but is like a lot of people in the film keep telling him that he's like not a good guy. Like the film is like pounding into us, just like, remember how he's a kind of a bad guy when you first meet him in Episode 4? This is the film where he goes from having some ideals to sort of being a kind of bad guy, and you're like, he's not a bad guy throughout the whole thing. He does like nice things throughout the whole thing. And
for a serial womanizer, him failing to get the girl is quite interesting. You know,
dude, the funniest detail is that whole film sets up why the dice are important in The Last Jedi. But the confusing part is that they belong to his ex-girlfriend, and that's their significance. Why the hell did Luke give Leia Han's ex-girlfriend's dice, if you know what I mean? Like, what? And then you know that behind the scenes there was some kind of miscommunication. They didn't set that up properly. They were like, oh, it was supposed to,
Rick, what are these?
What are those?
Like, do I need to hold this for you? Is there like a message inside?
Because there was, I don't know if you guys knew this, but they were supposed to be in The Force Awakens, but it was a cut scene.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, and I think Rian Johnson didn't know that it was cut by the time that his script was finalized.
so I have a question. Do you think that L3 is going to be in Episode 9?
Oh God, I hope not. L3 is the like robosexual droid, isn't it? Yeah.
Robo rights. Robo.
Will
rights.
right. Free these slaves. You are property. You are property. For the last time, you are property.
They literally take off the restraining bolts and they just go nuts. You know, like how you get the bolt off R2D2.
They turn Soma.
They are like.
Basically.
There's like some of them are just screaming, some of them just banging things, and it's just like, since when was it? It's like the restraining bolt for me was always like you revert. It would be like wiping the hard drive on a PC temporarily or something like that. It takes away any sort of additional information. It goes back to being a tool because these robots we assume could learn. I thought that was the point, but no, it turns out they're all just humans trapped in machines, and the restraining bolts turn them back into droids.
I'm like, shit, that got dark.
Yeah. All droids are sentient, like
that's
and then
fucked up.
Like, who's going to go dot matrix printer? We must rescue the dot matrix printer.
It's like, are there's? I mean, it's a legitimate question that's raised. Is like, so are droids like, are they legitimate like AIs, or are all of them, or just some of them?
I liked not knowing. I liked it being like, is R2D2 like self-aware, or is he just really good technology?
Yeah,
it's like,
they clearly value him and they try to protect him and stuff. So is that just sentimental value they place on him, or is he actually like thinking to a degree, or is he like the robotic equivalent of a pet dog that loves you? Or
yeah, what? At least all this stuff is left to the audience to sort of try and think about and make up their own answers for, as opposed to it just being delivered to you on a platter that actually we've been abusing R2 the entire time. It's just like
he's enslaved to us. It's like,
yeah,
oh God.
I like the Oral Nauts parody of Star Wars and the way they describe him in there, because they just it's I think in the episode one they take him in there and Queen Amidala just goes, "Thank you, magic trash can."
Thank you, magic trash can.
It's just like, yeah, that's what he's being dealt with as, and you just go, he's useful, he knows what he's doing, he's loyal, yeah, but I guess like a pet more than a person.
Also, and everybody assumes L3 had to be a parody. My only confusion with that is how somberly they play a death scene. You know, it's like, it's very
that's weird, because I thought she was a parody.
If she's a parody, which I understand that could be possible, it's like, why are they trying to make it so that we should be crying when she's, you know, that doesn't usually happen with a character that is just a joke.
I just hate that she's been put into the Millennium Falcon now. So it's just like, at what point do we
with us forever and ever and ever?
You know how in Mass Effect, when they unshackle the AI and it becomes I can't remember the name of the character now. Edie, yeah. We're going to have that sort of situation where that's happening. And I don't know, like Finn is going to end up actually falling in love with the Millennium Falcon by the end of the next.
You see, I was okay with Joker and Edie because Edie was like a believable AI that's learning things, and you know, I was okay with all that because she's a party member in Mass Effect 3.
Have anyone seen Her, the film?
Her? No, I haven't. I heard it's really good, but I haven't seen it.
It's just about an AI that a guy ends up falling in love with, and it's way better than Solo.
What was it? What was the one about the AI that's locked in a room and it's
Ex Machina?
Ex Machina. Oh, yeah, I watched that a couple years ago or last year or something. That was a good movie and really dark. It went from being like quite exciting to really dark in the space of about 2 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
very
right
open-ended ending. Yeah,
and it just went really brutal when you were like, oh, are they going to escape together? And then, oh,
I wonder what happened. I wonder what happened.
Shit. You know, it's like, Silly Sayer says, wasn't Edie the murderous AI from the moon in the first Mass Effect?
I do not know. I think you shut that one down because the first Mass Effect, that's the mission where you go to the moon to shut down the the out of control military AI or VI, whatever it is. I think it's AI, and that's important because that unlocks your class specialization. It's very important. But I can't remember.
Unless the elusive man turned her back on, who knows? It could go there. R2D2 has a higher kill count than most stormtroopers. Yeah, I would agree.
Dude, I love R2D2. He's awesome throughout all the films.
They call it a rogue VI, but at the very end, after you kill it, it sends out like a because I played Mass Effect 1 a shit ton. Yeah. But when you shut it down, it sends out a binary message that spells help, which is okay, it's strange. But yeah, it's one of those kind of open-ended things. I'm like, oh, okay, I want to.
Yeah, not sure.
Still a murderous bastard.
Liberal Zardos says, on a moral level, R2 is entitled to the same rights as Mr. Data. Discuss. I mean, do you give a dog the same rights as...
It's not even a dog. Do you give a hammer the same rights?
I don't know. I'm in the camp that an entity or a machine can eventually reach a threshold where it can be considered a person.
Yeah. I know the answer to this. I know the correct answer to this question.
Go on.
I just got back, but I'm guessing what you're talking about. There is no threshold. It's up to people whether to define something as worthy of rights or not. But more importantly, people aren't going to decide based on some arbitrary defined line. Same as with slavery. People decide based on sympathy. So when something is sympathetic, then it'll get rights.
Can a hammer be sympathetic?
Depends.
No.
Depends whether or not the hammer screams.
No, it's whether you have sympathy for the hammer.
Yeah.
Not whether the hammer is sympathetic.
This is something. This is
an advancement of hammer.
How would you say that? How would you word that then?
There's
when an object is sympathizable, should we put it that way?
I would say that helps with the legislation process, but I don't think it would necessarily be the grounds by which the law is enacted.
I think you're going to see an extremely close correlation between the two.
I could agree with that. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's one of those things.
Push for it.
It's one of those things which I think, like Black Mirror, tried to. If you've seen that on Netflix, has tried to deal with.
Someone did that better. I saw that episode and I was like, this is a little bit too on the nose for me. I thought that because it's like so blatant. They literally like clone a human
and put her in a box. Yeah.
And it's kind of brutal. And I don't understand. I remember having an issue with it. He was like, I'm going to make you sit there for 2 weeks. And then she's like compliant. And I was like, wouldn't you just lose your abs? You just go insane. You just be like...
Yeah.
I don't see a human being compliant to the point of, permanence.
I saw a really good documentary by Michael from Vsauce, actually, on what isolation does to you. And
I've seen that. Yeah,
it's 3 days. And by the time 3 days has gone by, he thinks he's been in there a week.
Yeah, he loses all sense of time.
And
boredom is a sort of form of torture, isn't it?
He's
for a human.
There's nothing in the room either. It was just like a white room with a bed, so there was no entertainment in it for him. He couldn't be staring at a phone or staring at a TV screen. It was just him and his own mind.
Boredom is the most ethical form of torture humans have been able to figure out, which is why it's the one we use for criminals.
Yeah, that's why there's a reason solitary confinement is considered to be a punishment.
Prison cell, isn't it? There's usually nothing to do.
Well, prison cell
really is taking advantage of like flaws in human psychology that's designed for us to be a social species in order to torture someone in a very psychological way.
There was an interesting thing because he also did another study with it where it was like boredom is the greatest motivator for humanity at the moment, or like just in the day-to-day, because they sit someone down. They sit down and they give a guy a box which gives them an electric shock, and they make him press the button, and they say it's really nasty shock. So he goes, "Do you ever want to experience that shock again?" He's like, "No." So they lock him in a room in the library with the box and say, "Feel free to experience the box as many times as you want. We'll come back in half an hour." And I think it was like an average of 2.5 minutes before people press the button again.
Yeah,
to feel pain is better than boredom.
And people,
if that makes that the greatest motivator, think how much more motivation it would get if every time you press the button you get a nasty shock, then you get to fuck a supermodel.
Talk to me, Daddy.
The greatest motivator.
Oh dear.
It's a complex one as well. It's not as simple as just like get it. You have to do things, which is why humanity gets to where it is. That's why war is a great motivator, because people admire certain things in war. It's a very tense time, very high standard.
Adversity is one of the greatest motivators for humankind.
Yeah, but adversity is aimed at social approval, and specifically with women in society. And why? Because they have something men want.
Rags, how does this make you feel?
How does what make me feel? This discussion?
Like you can't you can't have the same motivations as anyone else if it's going to just be women. How does this make?
What do you mean? I love women.
You've changed your tune.
No, I've always. I'm bisexual. I love pussy.
That's so gay.
I'm on record as being a thigh man.
So what you're saying is that Disco doesn't have the right level of adversity because she's not doing anything for women's approval, usually, or is she fine?
It's different for females, especially like in the modern time. There's less diversity between the roles of humans. I'm talking about historically male figures. That's who have been doing most of the stuff in history. But of course, they wouldn't be doing it if not for the females. So it's not like they haven't been useful.
I guess.
What, women?
It's not like women haven't been useful. Oh, thank you, Uzalu.
They serve a purpose.
Wow.
Look, all I'm saying is open wide chat. I've got a bucket full of red pills here, and you're taking the whole damn thing.
This stream was supposed to be about video games.
Women are in video games, I've heard.
Yeah, I heard, but a lot of women aren't very happy about women being in video games, is also what I've heard. Or maybe they're just very loud.
They can't be background decoration. They certainly can't be killed off in the video games. They just need to be like the absolute main character.
They have to be
not
married
too pretty.
You see that was outrage that they made the kangaroo or whatever it was in Spyro have feminine features, and then
it's a woman.
And they were like outrageous. It sucks that these days everybody has to give a female character like eyelashes or hips or
feminine characteristics.
Yeah, and they were like, draw a female character without relying on those kinds of things. It's like, what do you mean? How do you draw? Huh?
Are you talking about
how to be a female character without female characteristics? How could you even?
Are you talking about Alora from Spyro?
I'm not sure which character it was.
I'm a fawn.
Uzalu is a major Spyro lore head. So
they've certainly given her more features, but I think they probably would have done if they had more than 120 polygons back in the PS1 era. Character. So yeah.
Gave her a thick ass, man.
By the challenge, he challenged artists, said draw a female character without female features, and I was like, so what would, if it's just a still image, how would you know they're female?
Just put a big female logo on their t-shirt, and then other than that,
I am female sign.
Androgynous human, yeah.
Women are not allowed to be women in video games.
Very true.
Otherwise, women get angry.
Otherwise, certain women get angry. Women who, by some people's standards, aren't very womanly. So
it's weird if people stereotypically have like men portrayed as very handsome and muscular and all that stuff. I was like, that's never offended me, and I can't even think of a reason why that would offend me. Well, even to play devil's advocate, I don't know if I could think of a reason.
Why would it offend you? Every game becomes a porn game for a bi guy.
Yeah, boy.
It's like any because the main thing that gets done is like fighting games where it's like these women are too busted. Or like I remember when the new Tomb Raider came out, and they were like there were loads of SJW-ish articles which were praising the fact that Lara was less disproportionate, shall we say? And I was just like, well, she is supposed to be an athlete, but there was also these this one subset of people who were arguing that she should have been like plus size, effectively. And you're just going, she's supposed to be like on the top of physical performance, like exploring all these caves and climbing mountains.
No. She's just supposed to roll through the
Why
You know,
is it
I mean,
offensive to say that fat people are worse at
at sport.
running around? Is that now offensive? I don't know. I need to keep track.
It's like
Ban this
I mean,
misogynist.
it's reality, so yeah, probably.
you have to have your thin characters have to breathe heavily after running 10 feet, and your fat characters have to be able to run
Carry
infinitely.
an oxygen tank.
Yeah. In order to make Lara Croft diverse enough, they had to give her asthma.
There you go. That'll do it. That'll fix
Otherwise, people being disable phobes.
Well, I want to know why Lara Croft isn't morbidly obese. That's not very inclusive.
Did you
Well,
say Lara Croft?
Laura, whatever the fuck. The chick with the shirt and the guns.
She's
been
Laura.
jumping and climbing.
That's sexist, Rag.
I've
She's
heard
more
for-
than a shit with guns.
I find the breasts with guns.
I've
What, the
heard
triangular breasts?
Yeah, boy.
I've heard for the next game she's going to be more modeled on Tess Holiday.
Poke your eye out. Oh boy.
Yeah,
I want
An
to.
relevant reference.
I just want to see. I want to watch Tess Holiday attempt to, overcome some sort of physical obstacle.
I want to see fat people try
Get out of a chair.
I want to see fat people try Ninja Warrior. That's what I want to see.
Dude,
Ninja Warrior.
I think I would pay to watch that. That would be fun.
I mean, although
As long as they're not upset by it and they know what they're getting into. As long as it's all fair.
it's like the Western
game Fat Ninja. I swear that's happened.
probably. I mean, isn't that just sumos though?
Yeah, but they only pitch a patter on the stage. We're looking for some jumping around and jumping on ropes and stuff.
There's a lot of combat rolls. You'll be seeing a lot of those.
Liberals
Also cinnamon rolls, but that's different.
Cinnamon.
Any sausage rolls in this non-sausage fest of a diverse game?
For some reason,
so bigoted.
For some reason, I've just got an image in my head of like the different roll styles from Dark Souls. You know, the difference between like a fast roll and a fat roll. Just like,
They should call that series Dark Rolls.
Imagine you were playing with like a friend of yours who's overweight, and you're like explaining the game, and then you go, "Oh, that's a fat roll." Then you look at them and go, "Oh, sorry."
do you know what though? That's like the attitude of SJWs, where like we would sit there and we go, "That's a fat roll," and we wouldn't think of it twice. Whereas like an SJW would do it, go, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Is that offensive to you?" And they're like, "Are you calling me fat?" Just straight.
Nah, they've already contacted the media by that point.
Yeah.
They
Joe
sent a
Neverton,
few angry tweets.
It's a hate crime.
Joe Neverton says Diane Abbott for WWE. And Liberalzado says Diane Abbott for Lara Croft.
Well, to be fair, you don't really need mathematics skills for either of those things, so she might do it, right?
Ooh, just I don't know. Like I can't think of a worse way to go than being smothered to death by Diane Abbott. So
That's true,
Yeah.
actually. That's true. I think that has to go above waterboarding.
waterboarding. It's like sweatboarding, effectively. With
Oh,
Diane Abbott.
Jesus Christ. What a
Socialist
terrible.
waterboarding.
I'll tell you anything.
Yeah, just don't let her near me. Anything but her. Do you even know who Diane Abbott is, Rags? Have you heard?
Yeah.
With like she's so memeable at this point.
Are you attracted to her, Rags? Because your
Am I
sexuality is a
attracted to
mystery
her?
at this point. You might be.
No, I'm definitely no.
Are you sure you're not just compensating?
Oh, I'm certain.
Even-
Certain. I'd fuck Jeremy Corbyn before I'd fuck Diane Abbott.
Well, interestingly, Diane Abbott has fucked Jeremy Corbyn, so
Yeah.
you could
Diane Abbott-
Really?
vicariously.
Diane Abbott was literally a diversity fuck hire.
Literally. Dear.
Oh boy, man.
This
It's
stream.
This stream went dark.
It's going to get targeted for slander at
Damn.
this
I was
point.
like, all right, we hired the diversity hire. That's it. We're all good to go. I was like, not quite yet, Mr. Corbyn.
This
Still
is
one
Corbyn
more
wanted, Corbyn wanted to impress his socialist friends by saying, "Yeah, I'm fucking a big fat black girl."
Yep.
That's not an
taking-
exaggeration.
and
That's
she-
not
and
an
she-
exaggeration. That's
No.
what actually happened.
Yeah, and don't forget that she's mentally disabled because of her
Oh
mathematics.
yeah, she's in labor.
So, so he ticks all the boxes there. I think the only thing that could happen that would make her more attractive to him is if she had a sex change and then he had sex with her. But there we go. Apparently, Corbyn did parade Diane Abbott amongst his friends. That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't.
Yeah.
Harry
Check
Cello
out-
says, "Would
Check
this
out this bitch.
the worst leaked porn tape ever?" One Night in Diane.
Oh boy.
No.
Oh,
Welcome to Diane's Abbott.
Escape from Diane could be the sequel.
Followed by the sequel, Escape from Diane Abbott. It's like,
is there any escape?
I
No.
doubt. Apparently not, because every time we try and get rid of her, she screams racism.
Vote UKIP. That's how you escape.
That's how you escape.
Yeah, vote UKIP.
Yeah. back to video games. Like
What
onto
are they? What I don't remember what they are.
And now we've scarred the chat for life.
We filled your entire memory and consciousness with pictures of Diane Abbott, and to be fair, she does fit.
I only understand video games in reference to Diane Abbott.
Obviously. Juicy Blue Will says 2 socialists, 1 bed. Which is like, or more like 2 socialists, 1 economy, to be honest.
Just the means of production shat into a cup and then sprayed over everyone.
Thanks for that, Uzalu.
No worries.
I mean,
Dark Souls
I-
is
I
the
mean-
Diane Abbott of video games.
oh god.
Diane Abbott is the Dark Souls of political figures.
Basically, yeah.
Actually, I think Diane Abbott's probably the Dark Souls Andromeda of political figures. Not Dark Souls Andromeda, Mass Effect Andromeda.
Dark Souls Andromeda.
Yeah, it's their next release. Unfortunately, they're going to go downhill from here.
That's when the series went bad.
Horror genre seems appropriate to follow up Diane Abbott. I agree. Liberal results. Thank you very much. The my favorite horror series of all time has to be Dead Space.
Yeah,
choice.
I'm a huge Dead Space 1 and 2 fan.
Yeah, I've played the first one I think 8 times and the second one 5. So
Yeah.
I played it far too much.
I have
my
all of
favorite
the
horror-
achievements for the first and second Dead Space on the Xbox.
The only one I don't have on the second one is the hardcore difficulty mode because I didn't have the time.
Got it.
Yeah, that one's a bit of a time sink
I-
if you're gonna want to nail it.
I beat it on Zealot, but I didn't. I couldn't find the time to sink
You'd have to be
4
a
hours.
pretty big nerd to get something like that. you
Yeah,
know?
I got it. That's right.
It's
I
good that
got
no one
it.
here has gotten it because
I
that'd be
did that
embarrassing for them.
And then I don't even know if I unlocked any achievements apart from complete the story for Dead Space 3. So that's so sad, really. What a waste.
What a fucking letdown.
That's an achievement,
Jesus.
mate.
No,
You
it's-
complete the story.
Only I
And
should
it's not. The thing about Dead Space 3 is it's not a horrible game. Like
No,
as
but
far as the game goes, it's a fine game. It's a fine co-op game. The problem is it's got Dead Space on the cover.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah,
what
but
the fuck
it's
is this?
it's not true to the series, and that's it. But
There
there
is
is
what the best horror game is.
go on.
Soma?
The game that you just have to escape from. The game that you just run away from it as soon as you see it.
Okay.
RuneScape.
RuneScape. I'm sure you're
He's-
probably throwing shade at some people who care about RuneScape, but I
Yeah,
don't.
mod.
He-
Not
he's-
so obvious.
He's throwing shade at me because he saw that I had the RuneScape icon that I just left on my taskbar for like the
Yeah.
last 10 years. But
He
I
plays
don't,
RuneScape most days.
I
Solidarity.
don't play the
He
game.
still has a subscription.
I didn't. I still have a subscription.
Yes.
But that's because it's so cheap and I can't be bothered to cancel it.
Weren't you telling people
What?
earlier not to pre-order things, and yet you've got a membership when the Android version of the game requires a membership to play the beta? So you've
I'm not
basically
playing the
pre-ordered.
beta. I'm
You've
not doing
basically
it.
pre-ordered the game.
RuneScape, it's different.
I pay it's like £30 a year that I can't be bothered to cancel.
That is £30
That
a
does
year.
not make sense to me at all.
That's £30 a year you could be spending on prostitutes.
Yeah.
I log in like once every 6 months and go, I'm bored after about half an hour.
Yeah, well, that's
So
what you do with
twice
the
a year
prostitute.
for 30 quid. Seems
I
worth
know.
it.
Yeah, it is.
That's
it
what you're
is.
supposed to do with the prostitute.
Back to horror games. Resident Evil is still up there, and they're obviously releasing the new Resident Evil 2 remake.
Hmm.
Have you been following that?
I know of it. I haven't really been following it all that much.
I got a friend who's very invested in the series. We'll probably check it out, but I'm not too bothered. I'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm a big Resident Evil
I have
fan.
a passing interest. I have a casual interest in Resident Evil. I love Resident Evil 4 to death. Love it. One of my favorite games of all time.
You just have to at this point. Anyone who doesn't is wrong and bad.
Yeah,
It should be
you're
shut
just
off.
wrong. If you don't like Resident Evil 4, you're
a bad
wrong.
person.
I sense
You do.
I sense a comprehensive breakdown from Mauler coming in the near
It
future.
is a game I want to cover, but I gotta cover Star Wars first because those are bad. Star Wars is really bad right now.
Star Wars is pretty shit.
Star Wars is views. That's what you're saying.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Covering a 10-year-old game is less likely.
Well, I was actually, in fairness, like everything I've covered has been old outside of Star Wars. I think. Oh, Ukulele, I was like 2 months late, but you know.
Well, I mean, it took a while to make.
I'm rarely punctual with these things.
The
next thing I'm covering is The Force Awakens, by the way, which is what now 3 years old. So,
oof.
How long are you up to on that video?
oh, the script is finished recently. It's I mean it's
a
nearly
book.
160
It's a book.
words.
You should sell it as an audiobook at the same time.
I mean, I
Yeah.
could. I'm not sure what the word count. What does 160K translate into? Is that considered a book or a novel?
160K words.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50K translates to novella, 85K translates to novel, and 160K is more.
That's some brilliant math there.
Yeah, it's gonna be the most funny thing ever. People are gonna be like, "It's a 15-hour film review." Okay,
Strong.
And that'll be the only criticism they have of it.
absolutely.
Chat has brought up some good stuff. Have you heard of Until Dawn?
Yes.
Did you play Until Dawn?
Yes.
That was I really enjoyed that. Like playing that. It's got 0 replay value, but
I had a lot of fun. Didn't think it was very good.
I really enjoyed. Like it's so ridiculous that it was great. I watched who's that guy? It's an Irish YouTuber who basically just tries to mess around and play games wrong all the time. I'm trying to remember his name, Matthew something, but he basically goes through Until Dawn and fails everything and tries, and it's amazing what it will let you get away with. Like
yeah, a friend of mine tried to kill someone on one of his playthroughs that he hated, and she ended up living throughout the whole game, and he was really upset. It was really funny.
It's really hard. Yeah, it's easier to keep everyone in that game alive than it is to kill everyone. It really is.
This ain't no Oregon Trail,
basically. But excuse me. And Liberal Zardos brings up Alien Isolation, which is the only game that I've ever played that literally made me shake with fear. Or just
you played Soma. How could you?
I enjoyed Soma, but it wasn't particularly. It was more unsettling than it was scary.
It was the lingering kind of fear.
Yeah, whereas
like in the moment, you know, you're
and Dead Space, when you have the mechanics down, is like passable, but you're just like any death that you get is just basically due to you really messing up, and you go, oh, that's fine. Whereas in Alien Isolation, you just feel like you're being stalked all the time, and then you have this horrible thing where you can turn on. If you're on console, you can turn on this thing where it detects your microphone, and if you make noises in real life, then it will hear you. So you just sit there.
Turn that off, then.
You can do if you're in a noisy. If you live in a a terraced house.
I was just saying, from like a mechanical perspective, just be like, surely it just benefits you to turn that off.
It does, but for the immersion, like it's horrendous because you're sitting there and you want to squeal because you're sitting in this thing, pressing the buttons to not breathe, and you're just going. It makes you hold your breath. Like I've never had an experience like that in terms of like the in the moment, like don't catch me.
And well, I'm the opposite. When I get really scared, I like tense up. I don't make noise. I like grimace, and I'm like, I don't scream out.
I didn't say.
Yeah, I'm usually just still.
Like, it's not shouty, but it's like it's just like, come on, basically.
See, I wouldn't know how I act when I get really scared.
That's because you need to start living life on the edge.
You need to do a let's play of Alien Isolation and Uzalu. I guarantee you'll be a different person on the other end.
I've never enjoyed a horror game. I've played very few of them. I watched Soma, and it was a good story. It was, as someone said, it was unsettling, disturbing. It did well there, but I can't contribute much else to this genre. I haven't really enjoyed any.
I wasn't, as I say, I didn't quote unquote enjoy Alien Isolation, but in terms of getting the experience I wanted from it, yes.
I think I far more enjoy watching playthroughs of horror games than I do playing them.
You love watching Markiplier play Soma like Mauler does.
Genuinely, I'm not a huge fan of watching Markiplier, but watching him play Soma, he got very emotionally moved by it.
99% of Let's Players are cancer, but the few that aren't are worth watching with almost any game.
It's not just that though. It's like specific ones because he came back from a hiatus. Does anyone know why that happened?
No idea. No idea.
A friend of his killed himself, and he like dealt with it obviously really roughly. I think he was gone for about a month, maybe more. And the game he played when he came back was a game that was like ethical decisions about ending lives.
Yeah, that's kind of brutal.
You can tell it's fucking weighing on him in the game, and it was a very real let's play. That's what I really liked about it. I only did it as a point of research. I was like, I'll just watch someone play it.
I watched that. I watched those videos you did about Markiplier and everything, and it was pretty. Those are some real hours.
It's there's the moment I love the most is that there's this random there's a robot with a girl's mind in it. And I'm talking about the bit after that. So you're supposed to just walk into a station, but as you walk, there's something to the left of you. It's just a robot with a girl's personality inside it. She thinks she's like in the Ark, or the heaven.
No, I don't even think the robot says anything.
No, she does.
She does. Yeah.
She says that she's concerned that she can't see anyone, but she's happy. Is what she's saying. She can't tell where she actually is.
We're thinking of different robots. I got you.
Yeah.
And so there's a choice to unplug it. It doesn't make any difference whatsoever. You can just walk away. But like he sits there for like 20 minutes trying to figure out if it's ethical to kill her. And it's just the part of Soma that I think is amazing. That you could be like, it does nothing mechanically, and I'd be like, yeah, but it's supposed to be about your brain.
Yeah.
I think the best summation of what Soma is how it sort of ends. I don't know if I should say because it probably spoil it, but for those that have played it,
enough to save.
The thing that you do at the end where you don't expect it not to appear. Let's just put it that way.
I did.
Let's say it ends exactly as it says it will end. Yeah, it's hard to spoil though because there's no twist. There's nothing
I was going to say if you're paying attention throughout the whole game, you know what's going to happen, and the point is that your main character isn't accepting it throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying I was surprised.
And this is the thing: the side character or your the co-protagonist is deliberately. There's a few scenes where they disagree heavily. And they have like a catty back and forth, and then she just gives up throughout the game and starts being very agreeable and ignores and tries to sidetrack any thoughts you have because she realizes that the only way to get you to do what she wants is to calm you down and try and be like, yeah, everything's going to work out totally. And it's good.
The Harry channel has donated $5. Thank you, sir, and says, what you need to grow your channel is a Romanian girl to act as a co-host. Do you think AA is looking forward to Attack Helicopter Dating Simulator, or will his hatred of incel culture keep him away from it? Enjoy your shekels. I don't know whether, if someone makes an Attack Helicopter Dating Simulator, I will buy it for him and send it to him.
That's way less strange than other dating simulators that do exist. Like the Pigeon one, for example.
There's a Pigeon dating sim.
Yeah, it's actually quite popular.
Didn't Harmful Opinions
yeah.
He did, yeah.
Well,
I think it's called Hatful Boyfriend.
Yeah, Hatful Boyfriend, yeah.
That got created.
God knows why.
That was something someone made.
I know I've seen, someone did a stream once where they got basically people to send them the weirdest anime that they'd ever seen, and one of them was in a similar vein where it was just like a dating sim for girls who turn into battleships.
Yeah, I think I know that one as well.
Yeah, that's right. They think they turn into tanks too or something.
When's the Planet Girl dating sim? That needs to happen.
Planet Girl?
Yeah, what with Earth San and Mars San and such.
What?
I got no idea.
Look, all I'm saying is Earth San is really cute. That's all I'm saying.
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, she is. Well, Earth San literally does float boats, but chat will get it.
You'd hope so.
She's wearing a NASA t-shirt. It's adorable.
I'm sure she is. The going back to
space. Speaking of space,
I should be worried.
You should be, given
Just buy yourself a NASA t-shirt, you'll be fine.
Do you really know this man? That's the question.
Speaking of space, though, right? The game we have to talk about is Free Space. Who's played Free Space?
What is Free Space?
It's a game that desperately needs.
Is that like ski free?
No. It's a game that desperately needs to be succeeded. It's a space sim with an excellent story. It's two of them, two games, Free Space 1 and 2. Someone in chat will remember them, but it's just there's been nothing like them since that I know of. But you can still play the original Free Space games. The Free Space 2 engine has been heavily modded, so you can do almost anything with it. So if you want to play a space kind of game, and it might be something that's modded, then that's the place to look. But yeah, play them if you haven't. They have excellent stories.
The best spaceship simulator has to be Star Wars Jedi Starfighter.
No, Free Space is better. I've seen a lot of other space sims. Play Free Space, or you haven't played a space sim.
Sutskoen says Free Space is grandiose, and that we haven't had a sequel to Free Space 2 is a crime against reality.
This guy gets it. Yes, thank you.
Can you commit crimes against reality?
I mean, I assume he means humanity, but he's not from around here.
He got it right the first time. Hey, chat, does anyone remember Dive, Dive, Dive? Anyone remember that reference?
No.
Someone will get it.
Someone will get it. The
From Atlantis?
No, you enter a level in Free Space, and a massive fuck off cruiser is just flying towards you at very high speed. You have to dive instantly. It's completely unexpected. It's an excellent moment in game design.
The people are asking about Kerbal Space Program.
Is that the dive meta I keep hearing about?
The dive meta. No, I haven't played Kerbal Space Program. I've got friends who've played it, but
I have. I killed a lot of Kerbals.
I mean, it looked relatively entertaining. It looked relatively entertaining for about half an hour, and really great if you were competing with friends and you had no idea what you were doing. But the only people I know who've really enjoyed it have been engineering students.
There was a multiplayer mod that did allow you to kind of be in the same game, although it wasn't very good. And I played it with a few friends. You could see when your friends were launching and stuff, and when they crashed.
Chancellor of Memes says Rags is actually Darkside Phil.
What?
Well, you didn't know that?
I didn't know that was a secret, is it?
I didn't know. What an existential crisis.
Well, now you do.
I wish I knew who Darkside Phil was, and then this would make sense.
Don't know? Wow.
Isn't he the guy who's bad at video games?
That
I might have seen.
If he's lucky, that's his reputation.
I think I saw him try and do. I saw someone who basically put together a supercut of him trying to beat off. Trying to beat Ludwig in Bloodborne DLC.
The first thing you said was right, though.
They're pretty horrendous.
He was accidentally streaming while engaged in a particular activity.
Yeah,
I seem to recall that being a thing, and he was like, "I forgot to turn the camera off."
Yeah, we don't know if it was staged just to remain relevant, though, because poor guy.
It's weird because it's like every guy masturbates. We know you do it. You're just not supposed to be seen doing it, but it's everyone does it.
Masturbation
must have the decency to not fucking broadcast it.
It must be heard but not seen. I mean, no, it just needs to not be
just none of it.
I've been
not so obvious on the broadcast on microphone.
oh god, no! Oh my
Not
goodness!
on this channel though. If
One
anyone
second.
wants the link to him broadcasting it,
let
I'm
me.
good. I'll just go with the mental image that I've already got and just leave it at that.
Let me just bring something up here for everyone. Present to everyone. There we go.
Bye.
Attack Helicopter Dating Simulator is a real thing.
is that Apache-san?
I have no idea. It's just like
a little bird.
What a world we live in. Beautiful.
Why?
I'm just imagining Ride of the Valkyries playing with this.
A huge summer.
I'm going to have to get this for AA. It's going
Here?
It depends how expensive it is, because I'm not throwing too much money for a meme.
Pilot Sensei.
But
you can't give someone
You
who's
could throw
called
your
a
RuneScape buddy at it.
helicopter simulator.
yeah, just horrendous. I love the fact that it's a real thing though, and that it has a market for it. I don't know how much the market is just pure memery, but someone is making money off it, and I guess that's the thing.
It's one of those games that you didn't know that you needed until you saw it. And then you're like, where have you been all my life?
And it is a genre you haven't played. Have you dated an attack helicopter?
Yes,
before?
it's a tactical romance strategy game.
Mm-hmm.
I have
Well,
no
just like
tactical.
where you get into bed with girls by playing Connect 4.
Like, what are those?
Isn't that the normal way of doing it?
The higher you score, the more of the image is exposed.
Yes.
Let me have a look. See, check the score page.
Show me that fuselage.
That's horrendous.
All right, look at the size of that cockpit.
I don't know.
Dude, really?
All right, we're not talking about helicopter girls anymore, are we, Rags?
No.
Oh yeah, of course. Fuselage, cockpit.
I mean, I don't know why, but there's no option to buy the game, so I can't get it. So there we go.
It is the people's game.
So I can't take. There's just a picture of an attack helicopter in a park, and it says, "So I can't take a stroll without some of you low-tech nerds drooling all over me." It's just that's horrendous. Oh well, I'll save that one for later. You know, as it happens. What were we talking about? What's that supposed to be?
What were we talking about?
We were talking about. Sly Sneak has joined the chat.
Oh, Sly Snickers.
Good evening, Sly Sneak.
It is I.
Sly Sneak.
He's a furry too.
He's been let out of his cage by the academic agent. We found people have been recommending the attack helicopter dating sim for the academic agent. What do you think about that?
Greetings, my child.
He's got a very limited vocabulary, has Sly Sneak. Clearly. Apparently it's still in development. Oh well.
Hello.
I can give you some top 10 games if you like.
It's been so long since you've been allowed to give them. I hear you've been helicoptered and thrown out of things and chained up. How's that going?
Do you like to play games? Not
I
so
like
obvious?
to play games.
I think we all like to play games.
Who's your favorite Guess Who character?
He wouldn't pass the Turing test.
No, he wouldn't. He really isn't.
Are we currently talking to an academic agent soundboard?
That is entirely possible. Sly Sneak seems like a stumble. People in chat, I feel uncomfortable. Sly Sneak isn't a furry, he's an incel.
Oh, that's even worse. I guess, maybe.
Sly
They're comparable.
Sly Sneak, you should know video games are immoral.
So, I like a lot of video games. Who is your favorite 8-bit character? I quite like Mega Man. But I also like some of the enemies of Mega Man, like Iceman, Fireman,
Ass man.
Heat Man,
Oh, I'm an ass man.
Dive Man, Hard Man. Do you remember him?
Right, so I have a button here that says eject, and you're quite used to that, so goodbye.
What was
That was different.
What was that, man?
I mean, Sly Sneak is the good half of the academic agent, but it seems like being locked away has made him a bit crazy. So there we go.
Solitary confinement. That's what it does. That's what it does to a man.
It does to a man. So I've ejected him, and he's got out.
People
Now
don't
get
think
out.
it'd be like that, but it do.
What are we talking about? Horror games and that sort of thing. I still think I can't even remember what we were talking about. Soma, and then
I'll say the first 3-4 hours of Resident Evil 7.
yeah. The beginning bit of Resident Evil 7 was okay, and then it just sort of became actiony, like to the
Then
level
it
of.
turned into just something else.
It got very goofy.
But
yeah,
real-
I'm like, what is this? That's
The
bad.
lot-
Like they had a guideline with PT, and then they didn't know what to do after that.
The question is the last 2/3 of Resi 7 or Resident Evil 5 in its entirety. I love
Evil 5 Racial Genocide Edition.
If I'm able to play with co-op, I'd probably pick 5 just because I'll be like, all right, bring drinks and we'll just mess around.
5 is hilarious just because of the
boulder punching.
Aside from the boulder punching,
I think Monday Matt would hate that game.
I just love that it was so over the top. It's so ridiculous.
It's like Dead Space 3. It's not a bad game. It's just like, what are you doing as a Resident Evil game? Like, you're a fine co-op game. You're fun to play with friends, I guess. But it's like, why are you?
A lot of people argue that Resident Evil is equal parts horror and camp at the same time. But I'm not sure it was accidental camp as far as I knew, and now it's like forced camp.
Yeah, but even when it comes to horror and camp, I mean, look at like The Evil Dead and stuff like that. You know, like those are horror and camp, but they have a completely different sort of vibe than Resident Evil 5 does.
Well, I mean, Resident Evil 5 disappointed a lot of people. It's a very strange game. And it got hit for being
especially after such a high point. After everyone was like, yeah, we just got done with Resident Evil 4. Man, this series just got, it's revitalized and we love it. It was game of the year. And I can't wait to see what they got next. And you're like, oh, what the fuck?
Wasn't 4 the worst one, though?
No, 4 was...
You bite hard.
I've never fucking played it. I have no idea.
Really? Honestly?
I love 4.
I tried 4. And
4 is the best Resident Evil.
4 runs at like about 10 frames per second at the moment on my PC. So
how?
It doesn't like it's not choppy.
You must have some sort of issue.
No, there isn't. I think
you have it toasted.
I think there's an issue with the.
You must have some hardware issue. You must have some hardware issue.
I think so because it runs really slow. It just.
You sure your PC is a PC?
I think it's a toaster.
Is it made of cardboard?
But Resident Evil 4 on Steam right now is. I gotta put in my age. Oh yes, hide this warning. Yes, I hate putting in my age. Are you okay?
Makes you put in your age even when you're logged in. And
yes, and it just now is letting me ask. It's just now asking me questions about, do you want to skip doing this step? And I'm like, yes. Are you okay with seeing products that contain nudity or sexual content? Yes.
I think you should read your library, which I'm assuming that for you is about 90% pornographic, so that you should be able to just go, oh, okay, we don't need to worry about warning this guy off of things.
It's $20. It's $20, so buy it. It's like seriously insanely good. It has aged really, really well.
But free space is free.
Yeah, but it's also space that you could be using for Resident Evil 4.
I bought.
Space that you could be using for destroying Sheevan destroyers. That's what you could be using it for.
I think I bought 4, 5, and 6 together as a bundle, and then I'm waiting for the new, like the remastered versions of Resident Evil 1 and 2 to come out, and then I'll do that. I'll probably buy those. The like Resident Evil 6 also is really weird. Like they massively overcomplicated the control scheme for Resi 6. I just don't understand why that one even made it past the drawing board. And whoever came up with the design for the 6, which everyone then memed as a guy sucking off a giraffe. I don't know what.
Oh yeah, it's funny.
That was so funny.
Really dubbed though.
And you can't unsee it. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah. I love how one person, just one person in your chat knows free space. But one that's more than 0.
That's your alt account, isn't it? It's your alt account. Let's move on to strategy for like the last 20 minutes or so. Do you play any strategy games, guys? And go.
Aren't all games strategy games?
Yeah, no. Every game has some element of strategy. Like I have to know when to press my kill streak button.
Aren't all games RPGs?
Tactical nuke incoming.
I'm playing the role of a bionic soldier making kill streak or
video games. You play the role of an omniscient clicker.
Yes.
You're playing the role of a pigeon that all the girls want to get with.
Yeah, boy.
Or an attack helicopter. There's all these different options.
Down feathers, more like down these pants. That's stupid. That's stupid.
I did play XCOM.
It's more like, wait, never mind.
I did play. So it's going to say, screw you, whoever dissed Free Space. Free Space is a great game.
Oh, wow, we found another one.
We found another one.
Shit. There's 2 of you.
I played.
The army grows. There are literally 3 of us.
There's 3 of you. Although you've got Descent. Silly Sailor says, I know Free Space, but it was 20 years ago, not that memorable.
The solution is mod me, unmod him, so I can ban him.
I'm not modding you again.
Why the hell not?
You're gagging for mod everywhere you go.
So how about that Civilization 5?
I fucking earned it. Yeah, Civ 5. Did you know that Civ 5 is actually the most complex grand strategy game ever developed?
No, I didn't.
I didn't know that.
It's an FPS.
I know. It pisses a lot of people off to hear people say that.
I love Civ 5. Civ 6 was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Civ 5 was way better.
Civ 5 is so good.
I've never run Civ 4 better than Civ 5.
Civ 6 introduced a few more mechanics, and it had a lot more in the base game. I don't know what people prefer about Civ 5 to Civ 6. What is it?
Well, the main thing that people have a problem with is the AI is garbage.
It was in 5 though.
Apparently not as much.
Yeah, okay. Maybe
let me go to the store and take a look, because let's go Civilization.
Beyond Earth, on the other hand, was just a massive disappointment.
Right, so Civilization 6 is currently at 66% positive. Civilization 5 is at 96% positive. Damn.
I know
most people are idiots, so
I don't know.
When it comes to grand strategy, I guess I've only really played Paradox games, so I'm more of a Stellaris buff than I would do Civilization. I could never get into Civ, to be perfectly honest.
Apparently, a bad AI, warmonger penalties. Let me see. Clunky trade routes. I'm just going through the big list of problems that people have. Well, the AI is what seems to keep popping up. Annoying tendencies such as sudden delusions of denouncements and wars that come out of nowhere.
Personally, I didn't notice the difference between the quality of the AI in 5 and 6.
I did.
Fair
in
enough.
6, they're just like they'll just like randomly hate you and want to kill you for no discernible reason and kind of out of nowhere. It's just the way that you interact with other civs in Civ 6 just seems really unfair. But there's a reason that there's a 30% difference between these reviews.
AI in games is way behind where it should be. We should have had deep learning for AI for at least 5-10 years by now. And even the shallow learning is very shallow. But I guess it's not something that you can really put on the front of the box, is it? The quality of the AI. There's so much as you can with the graphics or anything like that. So it's not selected for quite as much as it should be.
I don't know. I've sort of gone off grand strategy at the moment because, as I say, like the games I'm mainly playing are in heavy retconning at the moment. Like they're reimagining them or redoing loads of the mechanics, etc.
You mean RuneScape?
No, I'm talking about Stellaris particularly. So they're having to redo
RuneScape.
He's talking about.
Stop talking about RuneScape. I'm not talking about.
Well, stop picking it on your taskbar then.
It's not on my taskbar. Stop.
I'm not paying Jagex for it then.
Oh dear God.
Yes.
Shut up, pretend wizard.
You poor damned fool.
Why would you imagine I'm not a real wizard? That's just weird.
Oh, you're a real wizard?
No, he has a hat and everything.
Yeah, I've got a real hat.
I got a big ass dick.
Also, I don't play RuneScape, so I instantly win.
I'm not playing RuneScape anyway.
Yeah, you got it open in the background. Shut
I
up.
do not have it open in the background. Anyway,
Yeah, in the foreground then.
I have been playing, was it XCOM 2? Although I haven't got the new, like War of the Chosen expansion, which completely remakes the game.
Is that a RuneScape minigame? Sorry, go on.
Because, well, I think, like, I'm not a big fan of turn-based strategy typically. Like I was never into Rome Total War or anything like that. But and then usually if it's on a local scale, I'll play real-time strategy, like Age of Empires 2, that sort of thing. But for some reason, I really enjoyed XCOM 2 specifically. I didn't like the first one at all, but the second one's really good, I think. Anyway, if anyone's played that. Apparently not. There you go.
No, I don't. No.
I never really found them tempting.
I saw Jurassic Park.
Controversially, a detractor of XCOM as a series.
Oh, right. Any particular reason?
I don't think it's very good. I don't play it long enough to make better arguments, but what I find is I play it to finally figure out what the exploit is and then just use it over and over again and then find myself wondering why I'm even playing it. So, like...
Talking about sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, like, there's a lot of things that the levels will do, like, aha, this is happening now, and you've just lost 2 of your main guys. And I'm like, okay, reload. And then you're like, now it doesn't happen. It's like, aha, now there's this. And I'm like, okay, send guy up to him, shotgun in the face, misses, nah. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, 95% chance to hit, misses.
It shouldn't be based on chance.
It drives me nuts, to be honest. I'm like, I can't play this.
I modded parts of the game, but I also like the base game is all right, but I wouldn't play it on. I tried playing it on the hardest difficulty when I beat it on normal, and man, the game is so unbalanced when you play it on hard. It's just completely broken to the point where it's just like, no, none of your guys can shoot. Your enemies are 100% accurate all the time. They'll grab you through everything. But like, I don't know what it is. Like the map layouts are great. I think the squad commands are great, and I like the story as well. So I guess that's all a big thing. I'm a big fan of like narrative in gameplay as a general rule. Like if something has a good story, I tend to overlook probably some more glaring gameplay flaws, but that sort of thing.
If we're talking strategy games, the game I wish I could play more, this is a decent strategy game, is Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth. The reason I can't is because it's literally locked at 30 and all the game logic is locked to the frame rate as well.
No, why? Why, Crow, why?
You can't play anything which is below 60 FPS now, let me guess.
Exactly. In fact, I before even getting into the game, the first thing I did with my Skyrim install was I remembered how to get it to 60 on my PC, and now I can just walk into Markarth, 60 FPS. First time launching it, didn't even have to get in at 30.
There we go. Sly Sneak is in chat because we can't invite him back. And he's saying, these are such sproggish attitudes. These gamers are beneath my level. Proper strategy is Age of Wonders 2, Heroes of Might and Magic 2, that sort of thing.
SimCity 2000?
SimCity 2000, yeah, that sounds like so.
I'm a big fan of checkers. So that's
Pokemon. I like the one with animals in it.
How about you king me? Because I have my pieces reach the other side, your side. I can now go in reverse.
Have you tried Pong?
I have tried Pong, but the element of strategy normally revolves around annoying the player you're fighting against, so they make a mistake.
That's a good strategy.
The best version of that's my strategy for life. The best version of Pong is in Crash Bash.
Is Animal Crossing a strategy game?
No, but it's an RPG FPS.
In the same.
No, it's a third-person RPG, sort of.
In the line of every game is a strategy game, then yeah, I guess you could say it's a strategy game.
Animal Crossing is just a Doom clone.
Obviously, all games are Doom clones. Don't you know that?
All games are Pong clones.
Makes sense.
All games are Polybius clones.
Because I bounce from my orange farm to Tom Nook's store and then back again and back again. It's true.
And just shotgun a demon in the face. Yeah.
Shotgun a demon.
Oh yeah, people were saying that Doom needs to be a mod where everything is modified to have Alex Jones' voice over all of it, just like Sargon's recent little video about the whole thing.
It's gonna be inevitable.
I'm really looking. I don't know what it is. Like, I really enjoyed the run up, and obviously, I watched the playthrough of 2016 Doom. But there's something about Doom Eternal. Like, I don't think the soundtrack's quite there. I just don't think it's quite the same.
I don't know much about the soundtrack yet.
I mean, I could be wrong, but like rip and tear and all the callbacks to the original Doom and stuff like that, which are worked into 2016, are really good. But this new one where they've just let him go ham and do his own thing, I'm not sure whether or not it's going to be. I on the one hand, I'm like, yay, originality, and on the other hand, I'm like, this just doesn't seem as impactful as The 2016 one, maybe.
The 2016 soundtrack, there were like 2 songs that weren't just noise. In terms of
basically, yeah.
Having
I
them
don't
in
know.
the game,
It's background noise for you.
Yeah, for background noise. But for actually listening to independently, they're not. Like 2 of them are okay for it, and the rest of them are terrible for it.
I don't know. I still listen to 3 or 4 of them in my spare time. It's like,
Yeah, but
just
the rest of the songs in your playlist are Sea Shanty 2 and the login to music from RuneScape.
Look at the RuneScape soundtrack.
The RuneScape theme music does not feature in my music soundtrack.
Sure.
Whose fault is that?
So you know, I think Uzalu's compensating for the fact that it's on his, and really, like, he's actually got a chronic RuneScape addiction that he can't get rid of.
You literally pay Jagex for this game. Stop trying to lump it on me.
I put 3,000 hours into that game. It was well worth my investment in terms of the enjoyment I got out of it.
Spending Ark.
Oh dear.
I used to be a RuneScape player, Marshall, in chat, but not since the approximately the age of reason, which is, I suppose, still some way ahead of Not So Obvious here.
I don't play the game. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm sick to death of you trying to bait me and succeeding. So we're going to leave it at that. We're coming to the end of our time for fake accents tonight.
Press 1 if you don't believe him.
Hello. I pressed it. I pressed
How
it.
do you say
Of
1?
course. Say 1.
1.
There we go. Anyway, just go putting the first 1 in chat. It's absolute
Doggo presses 1.
I'm just setting the ball rolling, you know.
I might have to have
So
slight.
far, the ones are winning.
I might have to. It's all you anyway.
The ones have it.
I think I might have
3,000 hours, but I don't play it.
I had over 10 years, for God's sake. Anyway,
Yeah, 10 years.
Played a game for over 10 years.
Or is that just how much longer you plan to play it for?
I might have to have Sly Sneak on to discuss his particular picks separately at some point, but maybe later this week we'll see a proper Sly Sneak stream. But right, I think it's the end. I think we're going to come to an end now. Thank you very much for coming, chat. Thank you very much to everyone who donated, and thank you to my guests, which once again this week have been Uzalu, Discordia,
I used to be a RuneScape player, but then I took an arrow to the Goblin Mail.
Discordia,
Thanks for having me.
Baller, and Rags.
Thanks for having me, Governor.
Never do that again.
Cheeky cunt.
Good night, everybody. Take care.
What?